Come to me.
There we go, Bruce. Attaway, Bruce.
All right, come to me and then figure it out. God, all these technical difficulties these days, guys. As soon as the viewership goes up, we go down on the quality. Yeah, blame the PC. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Today is Thursday, surprisingly, January 9th, January 9th or 8th? January 9th, 2025. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Michael Palazzolo. My friends call me Zolo. And to my right, the man with the beard, the man with the plan, we have the one and only Uncle Sam. Can you not see you? You're on there. And I don't know if you figured it out yet because I probably didn't buy enough time to do it, but live from Florida for the last time, hopefully in 2025, we have the actual host of the show, Samuel Randazzo.
Anyway.
Wow, we got him. He's live.
There we go, Bruce. Nicely done. Howdy, everybody. How's it hanging? Uncle Sam, chipper as ever. Zolo, you're looking great today. Bruce, you deserve a gold star and a chocolate chip cookie for everything you've done.
What's your favorite kind of cookie, Bruce? If you could go buy a cookie from anywhere right now because it's...
I don't like fucking cookies. He's not high. You got to be high to eat Mrs. Fields cookies.
Okay, Mans doesn't like cookies.
Mrs.
Duly
Fields
noted.
Cookies, some Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and a Mountain Dew.
That's it. Mrs. Fields cookies with a Mountain Dew.
Uncle Sam, how are you today? Look at that. You're glowing. You look vibrant today.
What's that?
You do. It's
You look
even brighter
vibrant
in
today. You're
person.
glowing.
Anyway, you look like you gained about 20 pounds.
Listen to me. I've been on a steady diet of crab
Anyway,
cakes. All right?
I don't believe that.
Crab cakes and
I'll
pub
believe that when I
subs.
see you.
I mixed in one pub sub. It's a great pub sub. Delicious pub sub.
Real quick, I need to make one note. My friends call me Odag. Shout out to the Laws. Shout out to Carl G. That is true. I am Odag in certain circles.
What does that mean?
It's a long story. I'd need
It's a long
Carl.
story?
I would need Carl to explain circa
No,
2026.
I don't need him to explain anything to me.
You're right. I've been dealing with this Tesla for Mike and Carl, and it's been such a pain in the ass, and it's completely dead. They left it at a Tesla charging station, and we had to get on the phone with the former owner the other night for 15 minutes. Couldn't figure it out. This story ends with it charging at my house. Anyways, I'm good with...
That's what happens when you try to go EV.
My car's never died in my life.
Yes, it has. It was in the shop that one time, I remember.
It wasn't dead, though. It's because the shop cracked the windshield.
Oh.
Roy O'Brien Ford. Shout out to Roy O'Brien. You suck. Anyways, we have a big slate this weekend. We have college football tonight, Penn State and Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. We have college football tomorrow, Ohio State and Texas in not the Sugar Bowl, from Dallas, Texas in the Cotton Bowl. We have two AFC games on Saturday. The Texans take on the Chargers in their usual 3:30 p.m. Saturday opener. And then I believe the night game is Ravens-Steelers Saturday night, right? Can you fact check me on that, someone?
It is indeed.
Then I don't know what the 1 p.m. game is on Sunday, but at some point we're going to have Bills-Broncos, and then we're going to have Eagles-Packers. We're going to end Sunday night with Commanders and Bucks. I think that should be a very good game. And then the barn burner, Monday Night Football, the Vikings and Rams. Real quick, we've all been familiar with L.A. before. We all know what's going on in L.A. Very, very sad. They might move that game because the fires are so bad and they need to dedicate so many resources to getting people back online. People have lost not just their homes, but complete neighborhoods have been wiped out. I've never seen anything like this, but prayers up. If you pray, please pray for the people in L.A. Neighborhoods don't get wiped out. And then here come the politics. But anyways, shout out to everyone in LA. We appreciate you. Stay strong.
As long as you paint your roof blue, you're good.
As long as you paint your roof blue, you're good.
That's it.
That game's going to be the Cardinals are going to get a home playoff game without even making the playoffs, it looks like.
Does it even matter if the Rams lose a home playoff game? Because
No,
that building was going to be half Vikings fans anyways.
The thing is, too, if they play that game at home, if they do end up playing it at SoFi, which I really don't think they're going to, everybody who has a ticket in LA for the Rams game is going to try and flip the ticket anyways. So regardless, if it's in Arizona or if it's actually at SoFi, it's going to be a home game essentially for the Vikings.
Yeah, I agree. What do you say we start with talking some of these openings, which we didn't do a good job of the other day? Six openings since we've last talked. The Raiders job has double opened up. They fired general manager Tom Telesco today after 1 year, and then Uncle Sam and I have been talking about this for a long time. It didn't happen the other day when we talked, but it finally happened yesterday. Antonio Pierce is out of a job. Some are saying that Tom Brady is going scorched earth on this job, and it's going to lead to him losing his job in the booth because he's running the team. So we have 6 jobs now. We have the Las Vegas Raiders. We have the New Orleans Saints. We have the New York Jets. We have the Chicago Bears. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we have the New England Patriots. Uncle Sam, which job do you want to start with?
Start with the Raiders.
Start with the Raiders. Raiders they're getting it right. They need a coach and a GM. I think they need a quarterback. I think they're picking at pick 6, if I remember correctly, which should put them in position to get a quarterback. They can also trade for one if they want. They might be a candidate for Kirk Cousins, whatever. The one thing Tom Telesco is getting heralded for is taking Brock Bowers at pick 13 last year, a year after taking Michael Mayer from Notre Dame in the first round. Brock Bowers is a piece you can build around. They have some things on defense. Obviously, they have Max Crosby. Who is someone that you want to see at head coach, Uncle Sam? Do you think an offensive mind or a defensive mind?
For the Raiders?
For the Raiders.
They need to start with the GM. They need a good GM there. They need to get somebody that's viable in that door. I mean, I don't know about you, but when you take 2 tight ends with your first round picks, that, not to say that Brock Bowers wasn't the right one. I thought he was. I wasn't a Michael Mayer. I thought that was a big reach where they could have had a different skill set of player there, and I think that was a mistake. But they need to start with the GM. They need a GM that can work with a coach there, that they can build something there that's going to be special. So we'll see who's they got a bunch of guys interviewed to go there and line up and see what happens.
Sam, what do you think? Who's someone that you would like to see there? Who's someone that you would think is going to end up there? What do you think?
I think Vrabel's going to end up with the New England job, but for some reason he doesn't, I could see him going there. Realistically, I know this doesn't make any sense, but I see the Raiders trying to go for a defensive head coach. Like, it wouldn't shock me to see Aaron Glenn there. The other thing is I do hold a lot of merit in what you said about Brady. I think he is going to step away from the booth because
he needs to step away from the booth. He's awful.
There's been a lot of negative reviews on him as a commentator. So I can see him stepping away from that, and don't be shocked to see this become his team from a front office perspective. And I think that with that said, the Vrabel thing starts to make a lot more sense. And if you're paying attention to the Twitterverse, it seems like there's a lot of talk about Vrabel possibly taking that job over New England.
So real quick, the short list for head coach right now, the only confirmed interviews, obviously Vrabel, both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Steve Spagnuolo, who I think there's a very good shot he gets a job in this cycle, the Chiefs defensive coordinator for the better part of the last decade.
Yeah, but he's been there before. That's the issue right here, is you keep regurgitating the same guy over and over again. He's a D coordinator. He's not a good head coach. He's tried that. He's awful.
2 other names, Liam Cohen, who everyone thinks is going to get a job in this cycle, the Bucs offensive coordinator, as well as Brian Flores, who I think is going to end up somewhere after the masterful job he did this year in Minneapolis. I think I'm
sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I can't see Ben Johnson taking that Vegas job. The ones that stick out to me are the defensive guys taking that job. Vrabel, Aaron Glenn, and honest to God, it wouldn't shock me to see Brian Flores get that job. Like, I think that could be a very, very solid spot for him. If they could build up their defense and then slowly try and work on an offense, I think that, personally, in my opinion, that'd be the best bet for the Raiders, because you have a lot of pieces you can work around on defense. The offense, you need receivers, you need a quarterback, you need a running back. Get a defensive head coach in there, and then utilize Brady to fill your holes on offense and get a good offensive coordinator after that.
So what is Brady then, the GM?
I think he has
You
They
think
came
he's
out and
going to be
said
the GM then?
They're gonna hire a full-time GM. And this real quick, Sam, I kind of disagree with you on certain elements of this. I think it makes sense for them to hire a defensive guy. And I also think Flores makes a lot of sense. I agree there. Ben Johnson wouldn't have taken this interview if he wasn't intrigued by it. And the rumor is that Tom Brady was the one that made the call to Ben Johnson for this interview. What stands out about the Raiders job opposed to a lot of the other ones is that they don't have a GM. So it's all starting from scratch and everyone's coming in together and can work together. And that will be appeasing the top coaches in the cycle. That's what they're looking for, is they want to come in with someone similar to Campbell and Holmes coming in the same time. So there's continuity and that they can build on a relationship together, be in sync for how they handle the draft process. So I think this job very much is going to stand out for certain candidates. I know what you're saying by building the defense out. That makes a lot of sense. They're not going to go anywhere without a quarterback, though. They need a quarterback. So I think that there's a lot to figure out with the Raiders job, but it is intriguing. It's a great market. They're sold out. It's a new building. There's
Vegas,
pieces
dude.
on offense. There's
Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah.
I think the Brady element matters.
You know who would have loved Vegas? You know who would have absolutely loved Vegas? Al Davis.
Jimmy Johnson.
Al Davis was Vegas, dude. Huh?
Jimmy Johnson.
No, not Jimmy Johnson. Al Davis. Just win, baby. I mean, he was the quintessential gangster, dude. You guys don't even know about that stuff.
All right, let's all pick a guy real quick. I don't really care as much about GM right now, is because there's too many candidates and there's too many. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's hard to predict a GM candidate, but real quick, let's all pick a guy who we think ends up there. Uncle Sam, who's your guess there?
With the Raiders?
Yeah.
I think Ben Johnson.
Sam?
I think Brian Flores.
I'm backing you up on Brian Flores. I think it's going to be one of those two names.
Listen,
I think it's going to be Ben Johnson or Brian Flores.
If Tom Brady said that he wants to interview Ben Johnson, that should tell you something right there.
I agree.
I don't think he's lying, and I think he's serious. And he knows what the problem with the Raiders is. It's not necessarily their defense, it's their offense. They're inconsistent. They've been inconsistent for 5 years.
Where do we want to head next? Let's
We
do
got Jacksonville.
What'd you say?
Jacksonville.
Yeah, I like Jacksonville. I think this is the first or second best job because there's so many pieces to work with, and they have another high draft pick.
I mean, all these teams have a high draft pick.
It's true. It's true.
In this
That's
scenario.
very true. The only lack of intrigue with this job is that they did not fire their general manager, Trent Baalke, who really deserves to go. Shad Khan hopped on a Zoom call with the media and I think season ticket holders the other day with Trent Baalke next to him, and Shad Khan literally said, "I will not be afraid to fire my GM if the head coach requests it or if I deem it necessary." With Baalke sitting right next to him, which I think is so crazy.
That would have to tell you his days were fucking numbered.
Yeah, I mean, they should just fire him at this point. That's the way to make this job the top job available. Sam, what do you think? Who do you think Jacksonville's going to look for?
I think they're going to go in the opposite direction from the Raiders. I think they're going to pursue Ben Johnson pretty heavily, and I think they are going to stick with an offensive mind, in my opinion, opposite from the Raiders. But I think this is Spagnuolo's job if he so chooses. I think that Shad Khan wants somebody like that in there because that's
a defensive coordinator, dude.
Well, but with a winning pedigree, I think that's what Shad Khan is going to look for.
That's only because he works for Andy Reid, dude.
Uncle Sam, what do you think?
No.
Who's in?
I don't think Spagnuolo is going to get a head coaching job.
So real quick, piggybacking off of that, the Jags are pretty transparent about how they handled the search. Let me give you the names. Yesterday, so Spagnuolo today, and then yesterday, their list came out as, sorry, it is not loading for me, but Ben Johnson is obviously on the list. Liam Cohen, another name that we're familiar with. Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady, Brian Flores. Vegas defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, I think he's got multiple rings in the hat for this cycle as well. Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, and Robert Saleh. And then obviously Spagnuolo interview today. Is there any name that stands out to you there for Jacksonville? I think you and I might be on the same page on this one.
Well, obviously I'm going to go with the OC for the first guy you mentioned.
Liam Cohen or Joe Brady?
Joe Brady.
Yeah,
I think Joe Brady, because he's done a really good job with knucklehead there in Buffalo.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, so I think he could work wonders with Trevor Lawrence. So I think he would be probably the smartest pick out of all those guys. Listen, if you're not going to bring in a defensive coordinator there and a real defensive-minded coach, you're going to have to go with the OC guy. You got to go with the offense, because the offense is what kills them, because they're inconsistent. Their defense isn't that bad. It's just their offense is really inconsistent.
Sam, anything to add before we pick this one?
I can see Saleh going there as well. I really think that he's going to go. He's not going to go for a first-time head coach. I don't see that out of the Jaguars. They had an opportunity to do it last time when they hired Doug Peterson, and they didn't. And I don't think he does it again. It just doesn't strike me as that kind of a job. So I think that takes Joe Brady out. I think anybody who Ben Johnson would go to, they would take him. But I'm really, from what I'm seeing, I'm really starting to believe that Ben Johnson's not going to take a coaching job unless they give him everything he asks for. And I don't think Shad Khan in Jacksonville is going to give him everything he asks for.
I think this is where, if Ben Johnson takes a job in this cycle, I just got a really good feeling that this is where he ends up. I think it makes the most sense. You have Trevor Lawrence. You have two running backs in Etienne and Bigsby. They've invested in the offensive line. They could do it further. Obviously, Brian Thomas could be the receiver of the future in the league. They have Brenton Strange at tight end. There's a lot to like offensively, which already fits him. He brings in a good D coordinator to work with Josh Hines-Allen, to work with Olo Okun. There's pieces defensively that they like. Trayvon Walker. There's a lot here, and I think there's a lot of meat to this. My caveat for Ben Johnson is I think he's not going to want to work with Trent Baalke. I think he's seen what a good symbiotic relationship is with the coach and GM, and that's why this job may be tricky. But this is where, if Ben Johnson takes a job, gun to my head, I'm picking Ben Johnson for this job.
It kind of bothers me because this guy's been offered jobs the last 2 years, and he's too scared to take it. So that would kind of worry me.
Where do we want to go next?
Worry me.
Can we do Chicago? No, let's do the Jets. Let's do the Jets next, because they've cast a really wide net. The Jets are another team that needs a coach and a GM. Again, wide net. Someone, real quick, while we're on the talking point, someone that's interviewing for the GM candidacy for the Jets. Chris Spielman, who said he wouldn't take a job and he likes his behind-the-scenes role. I think there's a New York element to this here, because his brother Rick, the former GM of the Vikings, is in New York now. I think he works for the 33rd team. Wouldn't want to lose Spielman, but he also isn't really the one pulling the strings 100% here. But he'd still be a big loss. We appreciate him for everything he did, and I think he would be great there. I think this would be a good job for him. I think he's a culture guy. He understands football. He understands their defense, and I think it would make a lot of sense. Don't want to lose him, but that could be a good get. But let's talk about coaches. There's 15 names on this list that we know of. It grows every single day. I'm looking at an article from the Jet Press right now of their confirmed interviews. Starting at the bottom, they've talked to Jeff Ulbrich, the interim head coach. They're planning to talk to Darren Rizzi from New Jersey, the current interim head coach of the Saints. They already interviewed Rex Ryan. They're going to interview former Michigan quarterback Brian Griese. He's the quarterback coach of the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to talk to Ron Rivera if they haven't already. They already talked to Ron Rivera. Steve Spagnuolo is going to interview there. He coached for the Giants at some point, right? Or was he the Giants D coordinator?
Yeah,
I can't remember where. Was he the Saints DC? Well, I don't know. I know he's been around.
He's bounced around everywhere.
He's bounced around.
Dude.
They're planning to talk to Matt Nagy. They're planning to talk to Vance Joseph, the Broncos defensive coordinator, former coach of the Broncos. They're planning to talk to Arthur Smith, the current OC of the Steelers, former coach of the Falcons. They're planning to talk to Bobby Slowick, who was the belle of the ball last year after Ben Johnson. After one down year, no one wants to talk to Bobby Slowick. I think this is the only job open for him. That's Houston's offensive coordinator, by the way. Yep. They're planning to talk to former Jet quarterback and former Lion quarterback Josh McCown, who's currently the QB coach of the Vikings. Did a great job with Sam Darnold. They're planning to talk to Aaron Glenn, of course. They've already interviewed Mike Vrabel. I think Aaron Glenn's talking to them today or tomorrow. Right. And then Brian Flores and Joe Brady are also candidates there. So no Ben Johnson, curiously enough. Uncle Sam, which name stands out to you there for the Jets?
I think Aaron Glenn.
Again, Jacksonville's my favorite fit for Ben Johnson. Aaron Glenn is my favorite fit for the Jets. He used to play there. I think he was a scout there as well, maybe. I might be making that up.
Well, he played there because he was the one who made the tackle when Sanders went over 2,000 yards here in Detroit. And he was the guy that tackled him at the goal line.
Yeah,
I think, and Aaron will tell you himself, that's the play he's known for, was tackling him as he was going over 2,000 yards.
I think Aaron Glenn, with the way that defense is currently suited, Aaron Glenn, and then paying a premium for a good offensive mind and going to get a quarterback, I think that's a recipe for success for the Jets. I think that could very much work, and it's something that I would be curious to see. The Jets would be hitting a home run if they got Aaron Glenn. This one in Chicago, they feel like two openings that are going to cast a really wide net and hire someone that doesn't make sense. Sam, who do you see for the Jets? Who makes sense for them?
I'm going to catch some flack here, but there's one name that stands out to me, and it keeps getting brought up. Rex Ryan. And I know Uncle Sam's going to hate that. He's going to absolutely hate that. But
I'm a big Rex Ryan guy.
That just sticks out to me as
but you know what? He was already coached there, and him and Woody had their little issues, and I don't know if that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Listen, you got one more year of Aaron Rodgers. You give a veteran coach like Rex Ryan his 1 year to do his thing there and try and get that defense. You know, it was kind of surprising. I saw the other day, before Robert Saleh left this season, their defense was ranked top 4 in the league, and then afterwards it dropped down into the mid-20s. I still think the Robert Saleh firing may have been a touch premature, but they bring Rex Ryan in, get that defense straight. You already know Aaron Rodgers is running the offense anyways. I could see Aaron Glenn taking this job if Aaron Rodgers wasn't coming attached. But I think that this is going to be one of those that Rex Ryan would fit into well.
I actually think Aaron Rodgers would really like Aaron Glenn too. I don't think they would have any issue, to be honest with you. I think he respects Aaron Glenn. See, players, a lot of times players need other guys that have been there for them to respect them, you know. And let's be honest, dude. Robert Saleh, dude, he wasn't the guy.
All right, gun to everyone's head. Who gets this job?
I think Aaron Glenn.
Sam?
I'm sticking with Rex Ryan right now.
I think they pull in an offensive mind for this one because that's what needs more work. And I think they end up with a young offensive mind in Joe Brady. I think this could be a Joe Brady fit. And I think my backup is Aaron Glenn, who should get this job. But I'm saving my Aaron Glenn pick for the Saints.
Well, Sam just told you the story there. They went from being in top 5 to down in the fucking 20s. They need a guy that can fix that defense.
Sam, why don't we head to Foxborough?
Mike Vrabel.
The confirmed list of they haven't interviewed Vrabel yet. Oh yeah, they have. I'm sorry. They did today. The confirmed list of interviews are Ben Johnson, Byron Leftwich, Pep Hamilton, former Michigan offensive coordinator there, Vrabel, Aaron Glenn declined. I'm sure they're going to cast a wider net as well. Of course, they're going to say yes to Vrabel, but will Vrabel say yes to them? That's the thing. I think Vrabel's going to do the song and dance with as many teams as possible and decide on the best situation, and this might not be the best situation for him. I'm with you. I think it's going to end up being Vrabel, but Uncle Sam, are there any candidates that stick out to you that might take this job?
I think it's going to be Vrabel also. I don't see anybody else that's willing to put in that sacrifice to do that job. That's going to be a very hard job. They got a very young team, and they got a lot of work to do there. They got a lot of work to do there on both sides of the ball.
Sam, anything to add on Vrabel?
They need a good GM there. They do.
And technically, Elliot Wolf is still making the decision, so eventually they might hire a GM.
Yeah.
They have not yet, and they don't plan to.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is they need a GM. And I know Robert Kraft wants to be as hands-on as he can be, and if not, they don't have an official GM. That means he can be. I think this should have been Vrabel's job last year. I think this will be Vrabel's job going forward. That Patriots team right now feels a lot like when he took that Tennessee job minus Derrick Henry. I feel like this is just they have to give him more of a leash than they gave Gerard Mayo. But I think the difference here is going to be
Mayo didn't
if
get
you had Mike Vrabel there.
Huh.
If you had Mike Vrabel there and he only won 4 or 5 games, he wouldn't have lost the locker room in the way that it seems like now postseason with some of Gonzalez's comments and everything else. I don't think Vrabel loses the locker room the way that Gerard Mayo did. I think he'd be better at commanding that locker room, and I think it's going to be Vrabel's job for the foreseeable future.
Real quick, the Hemkers just texted me and asked why Alani Nu hasn't started sponsoring us yet. What's going on there? Any updates on that front?
So unfortunately, Alani Nu only does ambassadorships and sponsorships for various sororities and college-age females around the country. They don't really dabble into the middle-aged men market. I've reached out to them on multiple occasions asking them, hey, you could reach a whole new market with this, and they just don't want anything.
Who's middle-aged man?
Bruce?
You, Zolo?
What, are you considering yourself a senior citizen these days, or what?
I'm just about there, bud.
So we're all in agreement on Vrabel to the Patriots, right?
Yeah. Vrabel to the Patriots. That's a lock, in my opinion.
Let's go to Chicago. This is the hardest job to predict.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Why?
Take it. What do you? Because people in Chicago, people who know the Bears, they're hammering home that it's gonna be someone that we're not thinking about. It's not going to be some.
You know what? I beg to differ there.
Maybe it's Matt Nagy.
It's Joe Brady.
You think this is Joe Brady?
I think it's Joe Brady too, without question.
To bring somebody in to work with Caleb Williams.
Without question, it's Joe Brady.
They have to.
If Ben Johnson says no, then it's Joe Brady. And I don't think Ben Johnson's going to Chicago.
I don't think Ben Johnson's going to Chicago either.
It's Joe Brady for me, 100%.
Has to be Joe Brady. They need somebody to work with Caleb Williams.
What about, here's a name that I would pitch if I were Chicago that makes a ton of sense. You know who I'm going to say.
Ron Rivera?
No.
Oh.
Bring back
Urban Meyer?
And bring back Mike Singletary to run the defense.
Pete Carroll?
Pete Carroll, they interviewed today.
I know that.
Oh, God.
Hey, you believe this guy got an interview? Pete Carroll got an interview today? Huh? Scumbag in prison. He's like fucking Jason Voorhees. Can't kill him.
Okay. There was one other name I saw earlier today.
Go ahead.
That I guess I could kind of see, but if Joe Brady was out there, I don't know why you wouldn't take him. And that's the offensive coordinator from Phoenix that I can't remember. It's Drew something.
Yeah, Drew
Petzing. I saw that name.
Yeah.
Drew Petzing.
What is it?
Drew Petzing.
Yes, I've seen his name floated around all day today. I have a hard time after seeing Kyler Murray's in the Arizona's offense body of work saying, no, we're going to pass on Joe Brady. When you need somebody that can work on Caleb Williams and going for Drew Pedsting.
Hey, what about what's his name?
Is this who I was going to say before you guys went off on a tangent? Where is he? Who is he? Where is he?
Shit.
Where is he now? What's
Washington?
his resume?
I haven't got him.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, see?
Cliff Kingsbury is
Cliff
who makes
Kingsbury.
the most sense to me because Cliff Kingsbury is the reason Caleb Williams won his Heisman.
Yes.
He worked with them very closely. I think if you interview Cliff Kingsbury, especially Cliff Kingsbury could be auditioning for jobs right now, pending how well Jaden Daniels plays over the next week or two.
Yeah.
So I think if you audition Cliff Kingsbury, you bring him in with a strong DC because if I were the Bears, you've hired defensive-minded coaches. What? I mean, other than Nagy, 3 out of the last 4 are defensive-minded head coaches. You need to stop that shit. You need someone. Caleb Williams had a good year, in my opinion. You need someone that could take him from a good year to a really big leap in year 2. So you need an offensive-minded head coach that calls plays. And then you couple that with a good DC who's got a lot of pieces to work with on defense. That's one of the better defenses in the league.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really good recipe there, and that's something that Poles could utilize to save his job. I'm putting my name in the hat for Cliff Kingsbury to the Chicago Bears. They haven't interviewed him. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury's talked about taking any interviews. He said he would if he could, but I don't think they've offered him yet. But that's who I think ends up there. That's the name that we're not talking about that ends up in Chicago. Cliff Kingsbury.
So I guess the Bears and Saints both, this is via Rappaport, asked for a interview. Kingsbury asked if he wanted to be a head coach again. He said, at some point, we'll see how everything plays out, but I'm very happy here. But if he throws his hat in, then yes, I agree with the Cliff Kingsbury thing 1,000 times over. But I could easily.
He's not stupid, dude. Listen, he got railroaded in with the Cardinals. They kind of stuffed that shit down his throat, and it didn't turn out well for him there. So I think he's going to be real particular this time if he gets another shot.
So real quick, the list of names that they've interviewed: Pete Carroll today, Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, who I think was fired, right? Did they fire Anthony Weaver?
Yeah.
So.
Drew Petzing, like Sam mentioned, that was also today. They've interviewed Vrabel. That would be a great spot for Vrabel, but if I were the Bears, I want the defensive guy. They're scheduled to interview Ben Johnson. They're scheduled to interview Aaron Glenn. They're also scheduled to interview Mike Kafka. Yes.
He was a quarterback at Northwestern. I remember watching him play.
And he's been the Giants' OC the last couple
That's
of
pretty
years.
messed up, isn't it? That's some useless information right there.
Well, no, it's not useless. He's a Chicago guy. That's why it makes sense.
Information.
That's why it makes sense. So the last one, I believe, is the Saints. And then again, there's 3 GM openings. Like I said, there's the Raiders opening. There's the Titans opening, which is interesting.
The Jets.
And then the Jets opening. We will monitor those. And then just mentioning some Lions names. Obviously, we talked about this before the show, but Lions defensive back coach and former player Deshae Townsend interviewed for the defensive coordinator job for the Niners today. Supposedly offensive line coach, really heralded guy, one of the 2 carryovers from the Patricia staff. Offensive line coach Hank Fraley is going out for the offensive coordinator job for the Seahawks. That'd be a big loss for the Lions. If Ben Johnson does leave, one of the names he would take with him is Fraley. Another one might be JT Barrett, former Ohio State quarterback, assistant quarterback coach now. I think Tanner Engstrand ends up staying. Maybe Antoine Randall goes with him. There's a list of names. Mark Brunell. So those 2 guys have interviewed for jobs.
You might see him here, Brunell.
For offensive coordinator, I think it's Tanner Engstrand. I think it's Tanner Engstrand or Scotty Montgomery, the running back coach. Tanner Engstrand, they interviewed for the Bucs OC job last year. He's the current passing game coordinator for the Lions. He's the one that ensures there's continuity for Goff next year after losing Ben Johnson because he understands all the passing concepts, but we'll see how it goes. Lastly is the Saints job. Just looking at a tracker right now for the Saints. Obviously, Aaron Glenn is the biggest fit there. He played there. I believe he scouted for the Saints as well. No, he scouted for the Browns. But that's where the Lions come from. That's where Dan Campbell comes from. That's where Aaron Glenn comes from. That's where a lot of their concepts come from. And Aaron Glenn makes the most sense there. On top of Aaron Glenn, they also plan to interview Joe Brady. I don't know if Joe Brady is from there, but Joe Brady is the reason that Joe Burrow won his Heisman at LSU, so he's familiar with the area, I'm sure. They also plan to interview Anthony Weaver. Kellen Moore is going to get an interview there. Mike Kafka is also getting an interview there. Vrabel is going to get an interview there at some point. Davis Webb, the quarterback coach of the Broncos, who is also a former quarterback himself, is going to get an interview there. I think this is Aaron Glenn's job to lose. I don't think this is a fit for Aaron Glenn. I think there's better jobs for him that he's more deserving of. But they're probably going to go all in on Aaron Glenn. Sam, who do you think ends up as the coach of the Saints?
I think it's a 2-horse race between Aaron Glenn and the guy who's there right now as an interim. I don't think they're going to keep him around if they have the opportunity to get Aaron Glenn. But I think it's really a 2-horse race there. The other
does
one
that job look better to you than the Jets job?
The Saints job?
Yeah.
I think it all comes down to what the future looks like, and I mean that's got to be discussed in interviews. But if you're planning on rolling with the same regime you have and not changing a whole lot, then it's very, very close to as shitty as the Jets job. I agree with Zolo saying that he doesn't think this is the best place for Aaron Glenn to succeed. The 2 jobs that we have Aaron Glenn possibly going to, in my opinion, the 2 worst ones that you could take. I think ultimately Aaron Glenn takes this one. There was a name that I saw that they haven't requested for an interview that I thought made a lot of sense, which was Josh McCown. Get somebody in there who took Sam Darnold this year and made him a world beater. Get him in there with Derek Carr. You have him there when you do inevitably get some young quarterback talent in there. I like the idea of that, but I think ultimately this is Aaron Glenn's job.
Josh McCown played for 100 teams in his career. Somehow, the Saints were not one of them, interestingly enough. Yeah, I think we're going to be revisiting this every week. Of course, we're curious on what happens with Chris Spielman and Mike Kafka and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn and Hank Fraley, and there might be other names. And there's been articles coming out all week about how this Lions staff could go down as one of the best in history, and one that where like a lot of names end up in other places. I'm curious. Ultimately,
you know what?
Head,
this happens. Any team that's successful, you're going to
agree.
lose your coordinators. You're going to lose all that.
I agree. I think what
happened to the Eagles 2 years ago. You know,
it
happens every year. It happened every year in New England.
What ultimately will end up happening, I think, is Aaron Glenn will go this year. He's ready to go. He's ready to be a head coach. I think Ben Johnson might end up being picky about taking jobs for a little bit longer, but time will tell.
If they win a Super Bowl, I think they're both gone.
I don't think Ben Johnson's just going to leave because they won a Super Bowl. I think he's going to leave for the right job because he's had other opportunities to go for good jobs and hasn't done it.
Yeah, that kind of scares me to be, I don't know.
Doesn't scare me.
If I was the owner of a team and I see a guy that doesn't have any fire to go somewhere and start something on his own, that would, I wouldn't have him on my list.
I don't think it's the
that's just my opinion. You know, opinions or
I don't think it's the fire to not go anywhere though. I think he's just waiting for the right job. I think he's really selective because he knows how
it's been 2 years. He's had plenty of opportunities to go to places and he hasn't done it.
Can we pick some games?
Going on the 3rd year.
Can we pick some games? We have games tonight. We have games Friday. We have games Saturday. We have games Sunday. We have games Monday. Can we pick some games?
Can I talk about 2 pieces of news real quick?
Yeah, I apologize. This is your show. I don't know why.
It is all good.
Today.
This is.
You need to come back and take your show back.
Yeah, you need to come back, take your show back, dude.
I'll
Bruce
be back
is out of line.
At 6 p.m.
He still smells. Uncle Sam is hungry. I'm pissed. Come get your show back.
I'm coming. I'm coming in hot. Falcons general manager Terry Fontenot, whatever French name, in regards to Kirk Cousins today, said that they are very comfortable moving forward with him as a backup. Do you guys think Kirk Cousins quietly just assumes his backup role with the Falcons, or at some point could you see Kirk Cousins requesting an out from Atlanta?
There's no such thing as a $37 million backup. Go ahead, Uncle Sam.
You know what? I think he would take that job. I think he would do it just for the team. That's the kind of guy he is. It wouldn't shock me if he restructures his contract next year. It wouldn't shock me.
The only other piece of news that I wanted to touch on was about Tyreek Hill. Obviously, after the last game against the Jets last weekend, he walked off the field in the third quarter and pretty much told everybody he was done. After the game, in a post-game interview, said that, this is the first time he had ever missed the playoffs in his career, and he didn't want to really be there anymore. And then after meeting with top brass from the Dolphins, he has decided that he is now happy there. And he did indeed change his Twitter profile picture back to him in a Dolphins uniform from him with his face photoshopped over Antonio Brown throwing up the peace sign leaving the field. So Tyreek Hill officially happy with the Dolphins again, just 5 days after he had requested a trade. So the Tyreek Hill trade siren can be silenced.
Yeah, they need to fucking trade him as soon as possible. They need to trade him as soon as possible.
And it was also on Pat McAfee today. Tariq said that he broke his wrist in scrimmage against the Commanders during training camp. That probably should have had surgery, but he did not want to miss the season, and he was going to play no matter what.
Whatever. That's an excuse. Why don't we talk about the real reason why he was dog shit this year? Because he's lost a step. His best years are behind him.
Godspeed. Let's pick some college games.
Okay. Tonight, 7:30, ESPN. I don't know who sponsors it anymore, but it's called the Orange Bowl. It's at wherever the Dolphins play. What do they call that stadium these days? Hardcock Stadium. In sunny Hollywood, Florida. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the 7 seed, will be taking on the 6 seed Penn State Nittany Lions. I saw a tweet today from some Ohio State fans that didn't know how to read the bracket, and they booked this trip and bought these tickets thinking Ohio State would be there, and they're going to the game anyways, and I thought that was funny, and so Ohio State.
That's kind of cool.
Penn State is favored by 1.5 points. The over-under is 45.5.
Wait a second. You said Penn State's a favorite?
Yeah, it makes sense. Notre Dame had under 100 yards of offense last game. On top of that, supposedly the flu is ravaging Notre Dame at the moment. It hasn't affected a lot of their starters, but there's some illness going on in the locker room.
The bird flu.
According to Yahoo Sports, Notre Dame's still a 1-point favorite.
Oh, interesting. Well, it's a pick 'em. We'll call it a pick 'em. We will call it a pick 'em. Uncle Sam, 2 blue blood programs. Joe Paterno versus Lou Holtz. Newt Rockne versus I don't even know who goes back that far in Penn State. What do you like about this game, and who do you got?
I'm going to take Penn State. I'm going to take Penn State in this game. Notre Dame put up a really good game against a backup quarterback at Georgia, and their defense played really well. I just don't think they got the horses to stop Penn State.
Sam?
I'm going to agree. I think Penn State wins this game in a pretty decisive manner. Excuse me. I don't know. I think this is going to be a Big Ten matchup in the national championship.
Yeah, I agree on the Big Ten matchup in the national championship. Notre Dame can't win this game with whoever their quarterback is, the kid from Duke, Riley Leonard. You need a pass game to beat Penn State. You can't try and, unless you're Michigan, of course, but you can't try and Big Ten Penn State. I think Penn State has enough balance offensively to come and control the tempo of this game. They're going to run the ball effectively. They're going to throw on third down effectively as well. Drew Allar, he's trying to paint a Rembrandt to enter the draft, a really weak quarterback class in the draft. And I think Drew Allar is going to have a big game tonight for Penn State. Give me Penn State to win. Give me Penn State to cover. Give me the under in this game because I don't think Notre Dame can score enough points. Penn State makes to the college football playoff, which leads us to tomorrow night, 7:30 from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Basically a home game from the Longhorns, 4 hours from Austin. Texas is a 5.5-point underdog against Ohio State. The over-under is 53.5. Sam, why don't you go ahead first?
I'm going to take Ohio State. I think this is going to be an over game. I can see a lot of points happening here. I mean, Ohio State just ever since that Michigan loss, somehow it seems like they have they've really turned things around in that locker room, and they've just been men on a mission. So I think Ohio State takes care of business in this one. And you got your Big Ten championship.
Uncle Sam?
I hate Ryan Day.
I hate him too.
I don't like Ryan Day. I don't like the only one I hate worse than Ryan Day is Jim Harbaugh, and I don't know. I don't even know where to go with this, dude. I hope Texas wins.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a Michigan fan, I hope Texas wins as well. They're not going to, though. I think Ohio State, they're built for this. They spent a lot of money on this roster, and it's going to show. It's going to show in this game. I will say this much. Other than Georgia, I think Texas is the only team that has an avenue to beat Ohio State. They have the pros at DB. Texas has some really good pros at DB. Yeah. I also think they have the offense to do it. They have good quarterback play. They have a good offensive line. So there is a lot to like about Texas, and it's going to be a home game for them. It's going to be a home game, but Ohio State is just so well-balanced. Yeah. They're so talented.
They're the best.
Paid a lot of money for this roster. There's no best
team in the country.
I can't envision, even going into this, the only team I could see beating them was maybe Georgia. Georgia's gone. Right. And Georgia just beat Texas. It's hard for me to pick against the Buckeyes. Ohio State to win, Ohio State to cover. And one of the ways Ohio State has to beat teams is they need to gash you. And they're going to be high-flying and high-scoring, so I'm going to take the over in this game. Same with Texas. Texas can score a lot of points. They're very capable, so I like the over in this game as well.
Before we make our NFL picks, I have to talk about this one bet that was made in Vegas today. A bettor in Las Vegas wagered $500 on Aiden Hutchinson to win Super Bowl MVP. Payout would be $75,000. I don't know.
Why don't this is a good opportunity to go over the Lions' injuries. How does that sound?
Horrible. Sounds fantastic.
Just on that note, a quick bit of information that came out in between shows, of course, is that David Montgomery is playing next week. No matter who they play, David Montgomery is playing. So they got going for them. Tyrion Arnold, who left in a walking boot, he showed up to the Pistons game the other night in a walking boot. He is day-to-day. He's going to have a very good shot to play. He told, I think, Dave Burkett from the Free Press in the locker room on Sunday night that he's playing no matter what. I think that's a wait-and-see thing, but there's a good chance Tyrion Arnold plays. Kevin Zeitler should be good to go. He's day-to-day as well. Pat O'Connor, who's been very clutch for the Lions over the last few months, popped his calf, and it is a very good chance to be a long-term injury, so I don't think we see him.
That's terrible.
Emmanuel Mosley was placed on IR with some sort of illness.
What the fuck?
He's got to miss 4 games, so it likely ends his season. Ennis Rakestraw has a very good chance to come back. We will know Monday if they start his clock how good the chance is, but Ennis Rakestraw should be starting to practice soon and should be back. Derek Barnes is probably out for the year, but he's telling people that he could play in the Super Bowl if they make it. He had a torn MCL and PCL. Carlton Davis, it's not looking good for him to come back if they make the Super Bowl. He certainly won't. He's eligible to return next week. I doubt we see him. It's hard to recover from a jaw.
Listen, that broken jaw thing is no joke.
No, it's no joke.
I had my jawbone cut out. That's no joke.
You can't breathe if you have a broken jaw and it's wired shut. How are you going to breathe playing corner?
It's not so much as the not breathing thing, dude. It's just every time you move or you run, the shock absorbing through your body goes right to that, and it fucking hurts.
The big one, like Sam mentioned, is Aiden Hutchinson. Campbell's press conference on Monday, he said that, I'm going to say it again, he has a season-ending injury, but if anybody can come back from this, it would be Aiden. You can interpret that any way you want. Some people are interpreting it as he can come back because he's a freak. Other people are interpreting it as Campbell shutting the door It's too early to tell. The rumor has it that he's been running a little bit, nothing crazy, no cutting or anything like that. This is a believe it when I'll see it thing because you play next week. The week after that's the championship game. Like, he'd need to be full-blown running on this in 2 weeks to make the Super Bowl.
He needs to be
a month from
sprinting
now.
on that.
Agreed.
Not fucking jogging.
Cutting,
like
too.
He's probably been doing.
Cutting is the big one to be
Yeah,
effective.
When I seen him walking there a couple weeks back, they had showed him walking into the stadium. He was visibly limping. So I don't see him coming back this year. Everybody needs to just put that shit to rest and move on with that. It's just dumb to keep talking about it.
Well, let's go to the slate this weekend. How about that?
Let's do it, Brock.
We're going to start in Houston. Every year, every single time the Texans have made the divisional round, every time they've hosted it, and I think every time they haven't hosted it, it's been 3:30 on a Saturday. So 3:30 local time, 4:30 here. Saturday live from Energy Stadium. What are they calling it these days? I don't know what they're calling it. Houston Texans host the Jim Harbaugh-led Los Angeles Chargers, who Uncle Sam says he hates. Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh get another crack at C.J. Stroud for the first time in 2 years. The Texans are 2.5-point underdogs at home. I got a stat for you guys, though. The home underdog on divisional weekend is 16-14 all time. It has a winning record. It's close to 500, but a winning record nonetheless. The over-under is 42.5. Uncle Sam, give us your picks and try and give us a prop if you're able to as well.
What's the over-under?
Over-under is 42.5.
42.5. All right. I'm going to take the Chargers in the under. And then my prop is a Ladd McConkey anytime touchdown.
I'm going to go with the... Man, hearing that stat makes me think the Texans have a better shot than I think we do in this game.
That's why I took the under.
I almost want to pick the Texans, but just going by recency bias, the Texans are playing really bad ball. They're down to one receiver. They haven't been able to run the ball well. Stroud has gotten worse as the season's gone on, and he's going up against his worst nightmare. No, it's not Connor Stallion stealing signs. It's that two-deep safety defense, a really good defense. The Chargers finished as a top 3 defense in the league. I think that that's really bad news for Stroud. If the Chargers can run the ball effectively, I think they win this game with ease, and for that reason, I'm going to pick a J.K. Dobbins anytime. Sam, I hope I didn't steal your thunder there. Give me the Chargers to win, the Chargers to cover the 2.5, and I also like under 42.5 points. Sam?
The only thing I'm going to deviate from here is I like the over in this game. Give me the Chargers win, Chargers cover, and I'm going to go off of what Zolo said. I'm taking both running backs, parlay both running backs for any times. Dobbins and Mixon.
We do not promote gambling on this show.
Wink,
No,
wink,
we do
cough,
not.
cough. The evening slate will feature Carl G's Baltimore Ravens hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers, a battle for the AFC North. What kind of game is it, Uncle Sam?
Divisional game.
Somehow the Ravens are 9.5-point favorites. People must really hate Pittsburgh. Over-under is 43.5. I'm going to go first on this one. I think the Steelers cover that 9.5. That's a big number. They'll hit it with some backdoor action, maybe a touchdown to keep it close at the end or put it within one score. For the over-under, a lot of these Ravens games have been going over, so I'm going to bite on the over 43.5. No Zay Flowers in this game, but everyone is healthy, I think, on Pittsburgh's offense. For that reason, I'm going to sneak in a George Pickens anytime. And then you can parlay that with, I'm sure Sam's going to say the Derrick Henry anytime, but give me the Ravens to win this outright. Sam, what do you think?
Ravens to win, Ravens to cover the big 9.5. I'm taking the over, and I am taking a Derrick Henry anytime. You know what? I'm going to take Derrick Henry to score 2 of them. Give me Derrick Henry to score 2.
Uncle Sam?
Yeah, I'm going to take Pittsburgh in the under.
Oh, God.
Pittsburgh to win outright?
Huh?
Pittsburgh to win outright?
Yeah. Pittsburgh to win outright, and My prop is a Najee Harris anytime touchdown.
Bruce, do you want to pick these two games? I'm sorry, I forgot about you. Do you want to pick Chargers Texans?
I'm gonna go Chargers.
And you want to pick Steelers Ravens?
I took Steelers. I just said them both. You didn't hear me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Did you say it? I didn't hear you say it.
Well, I was talking to the microphone. I'm also all the way across the room. So
What? What just came out of your mouth, dude? What
Can
was
I
that?
can I interject?
You
Yeah.
sure can. It's your show.
I would love. I have to know how
You got to be
Pittsburgh
here to interject. What?
Pittsburgh has looked like liquid diarrhea for the last month and a half.
Yeah.
And Baltimore's
playoff
on
football
a
is
tear.
different football.
Playoff football, different football, baby.
What'd you guys rehearse?
And a divisional round. And a divisional game.
Ravens have been in this position for too many years. It's just the Steelers.
Yep. How about that? How about that? The number 2 seed gets knocked out in the first round. How about
They're
that?
a 3 seed. They're a 3 seed.
All right.
And I like the Ravens.
Russell Wilson hasn't been in meaningful games since Vietnam. He's going to look like dog shit.
Vietnam.
Yep.
Anyway, he wasn't even born yet.
Moving on to Highmark Stadium in Buffalo.
great.
Let me get you the weather, Uncle Sam.
You can see how big
You don't have to tell me the weather.
The 2
It's
seed.
at Buffalo, right? Cold and snow.
The weather for Sunday is 32 and snow.
There you go.
Precipitation is only 20%, so it might not.
That's it?
32 is
Uh-oh.
pretty reasonable.
Uh-oh.
Wind is only 8 miles per hour. That's not that bad.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not that bad. The 2 seed Bills are hosting the 7 seed Broncos. The Bills are getting the Broncos are getting 8.5 points. The over under is 47.5.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'm taking the Broncos on this. I'm taking the Broncos.
Broncos to win or cover.
To win and cover, win, whatever, win outright. Taking the Broncos and give me a Estimine anytime touchdown.
Audric Estimine.
Yep.
Sam, let me go first because I'm with Uncle Sam on this one. We talked about it Monday.
I'm sorry? Over.
So this is a really bad matchup for the Bills. And there's the favorites don't always win on divisional weekend. The road teams don't always win on divisional weekend. Like, things happen. Things mix up. And something is going to happen that we think shouldn't happen on paper. This is the one that I think people think I wouldn't be shocked if I'm eating my words and Buffalo blows them out of the building.
That wouldn't shock me either.
It wouldn't shock me at all. But I haven't seen enough from the Bills since that Lions game to really sink my teeth into them. And this is a matchup nightmare for Buffalo. It's a good secondary, which is someone like the way to beat Josh Allen is you need to get a body on him. You need to have a spy on him. And in the event that he doesn't escape and you force him to throw, you need to hold your coverage downfield. This secondary is conditioned and disciplined enough that they're going to be stout downfield. This isn't Terrion Arnold in his rookie year we're talking about. This is Pat Surtain. Okay.
And their front seven gets at it.
Their front seven gets at it. This is Sean Payton, a really well-respected and seasoned coach in big games versus Sean McDermott, who is prone to blowing big games. Everyone for the most part, everyone for the most part is healthy for Buffalo, but they're also healthy for Denver, and Bo Nix is hot. I love Bo Nix in this game. I'm going to go with a Marvin Mims anytime. Even if you're taking Buffalo, this 8.5 that Denver is getting is a lot. So I think one of my locks of the week is the Denver plus 8.5 if you want to take Buffalo. But give me Denver to win. Give me Denver to cover the 8.5. I'm taking Denver money line, and give me the over in this one because these Bills games have tended to go over. But I genuinely think that this is going to be the upset of the weekend. I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't happen. I wouldn't be shocked if Buffalo ends up in the Super Bowl and beats Kansas City in Kansas City. But in the short term, I think this is a matchup nightmare for them, and it's going to be a deceivingly close game. Sam, go ahead. I know you disagree with everything I said.
Buffalo to win, Buffalo to cover. Give me the over. Josh Allen to score one with his legs and him over 42.5 yards rushing as well.
Moving on, 4 p.m., 4:30. The Link. The Green Bay Packers are getting 4.5 points as they head to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. The over-under is 45.5. Let me know if you need the weather, Uncle Sam. I could tell you the injuries. Jalen Hurts is finally out of the concussion protocol. He's had 2 limited practices. A.J. Brown is limited, and they're saying that they're trying to get him as healthy as possible for Sunday. He has not practiced. He's banged up with a knee injury. And Jordan Love should be good to go. But Christian Watson, like we mentioned, tore his ACL. Jair Alexander is also on IR for the Packers. Why don't you go first, Uncle Sam?
Taking Philadelphia in the over.
Sam?
Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown.
I'm taking Philadelphia to win, Green Bay to cover. I'm going to take the under in this one. And I like to parlay both running backs here as well. The Saquon anytime as well as a Josh Jacobs anytime.
I like that parlay. I also like your picks. I think Philly wins. I think Green Bay will have a shot at a backdoor cover on this. 4.5 is a lot of points. And the Packers are pretty disciplined. They play the teams that they can pretty closely. I think this is going to be a little bit different than the Week 1 meeting in Sao Paulo. And I think you're going to see a lot of ground game for both of these teams. A lot of Aaron Jones, a lot of Saquon, like Sam said. I love parlaying those two together. I like the under in this one because the defenses are going to be a little bit more stout than they were in Week 1 when they played. So give me the Eagles to win. I'll take the Eagles to cover reluctantly, and then give me the under.
You want to know what? Your guys' feelings on the Denver game? This one to me, this just feels like a trap to me a little bit. I could see Green Bay coming in there. Yeah, I could see Green Bay going in there and punching them in the mouth and just shocking everybody off the rip. But I'm still taking Philadelphia to win. I'm not that confident. But this one, it wouldn't shock me if Green Bay won that.
Yeah, I agree. I could totally see Green Bay going in there and winning. These are two really good head coaches, in my opinion, that are horrible at managing games. So it coke turn into a choke-off. In fact, it was a choke-off Week 1. They both had leads and gave them up.
Right.
Could be interesting.
Bruce?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll do the Eagles. I'll take the Eagles and the under.
It's high, motherfucker. All right.
This is that's
Moving
hard.
on.
Let's head to Raymond James Stadium. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are favored by 3 points at home against the Washington Commanders. Commanders making their long way to playoff return. I think they haven't been there since 21. I don't know. Not certain. Over-under's 50.5. I'm going to bite on this one. I think the Commanders win this game. Taking the Commanders to win. I'm taking the Commanders to cover. So you're doing Commanders money line on the Zolo system. Give me Terry McLaurin anytime. That secondary's banged up. Jordan Whitehead got in a car accident, I believe.
The what system?
Out. Pardon me?
The what system?
The Zolo system.
What is that?
Just people following my picks for the.
Oh, okay.
I think the Commanders ultimately win this, though. They've gotten better down the stretch. And Tampa has just looked shaky. They could have lost last week. They did lose. No, maybe they won. No, they lost one game 2 weeks ago. The key here, I think, is going to be Dan Quinn and how he figures out how to shut down the Tampa offense, which was hot earlier in the year. But I think Liam Cohen's just struggled as pieces have left. I think if you do enough in the secondary to take away Mike Evans, and if you can do enough to mitigate the run, mitigate what's his name, the running back for Tampa that's been lighting it up? Not Rashad White, the other one.
Oh,
Bucky Irving has been doing over the last couple weeks. I think that they're going to have a very good shot. Like, they have the defensive pieces to win this game. That's why I look at Buffalo and I look at Denver, and Denver has the pieces to win. I think that the Commanders have the pieces to go into Tampa and win this game. So give me
Austin Eckler's back too.
Austin Eckler is back, and then I think it can make a big difference. Give me the Commanders to win. Give me the Commanders to cover. I like the over in this one as well. And then, like I said, Terry McLaurin anytime, and I would parlay that with a Jalen McMillan anytime. I like Jalen McMillan. He's been playing well this week. Sam, what do you think?
Tampa to win. Tampa to cover the -3. I'm going to take the over in this game. I like Jalen McMillan over 53.5 receiving yards, and I like a Mike Evans anytime touchdown. And I think Tampa makes this one look pretty easy. I have an odd feeling.
No, I don't know. I think we get the Washington Commanders here at Ford Field next week.
I'm going with Tampa also. I think Tampa. I think Baker Mayfield's shown that he's one of the top guys in this league. I mean, he's done a great job there, and I like Tampa's defense right now, especially the run defense. They were really fucking stout last week, and I'm going to take the Tampa and the under.
Bruce?
Give me Scary Terry and Jane Daniels, the Commanders.
Last but not least, we have no idea where the game's going to be played. I'll bet we find out in the next 24 hours, so that way people can make plans accordingly. Probably the best game on the slate. The Los Angeles Rams are hosting the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are favored by 1.5 points. The over-under is 47.5. These two met back in week 7, I believe, in very similar circumstances. I think it was a Thursday night game. Similar circumstances, though. The Vikings were coming off a loss to the Detroit Lions, and the Rams beat them at home. This is master versus student. Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl team that the Rams had, the Stafford-led Super Bowl team, and he has coached under Sean McVay going all the way back to Washington and Kyle and Mike Shanahan. So similar systems. I think these are similar teams. I think they have similar offenses. I think they have similar defenses. Similar all across the board. But here's the thing. The theme for this entire week is who has the pieces to beat who. I think the Rams have the pieces to beat the red-hot Vikings. I think they offer everything that you need. A stout pass rush. They have a decent secondary. They have an offense that can score. And on top of that, they have an offense. They have receivers that can pick on these corners. And that's how you beat them. That's how you beat the Vikings. Their corners are not great. Their front seven is outstanding. Their corners are not. You pick on Gilmore. You pick on Bynum. You call it a day. And I think that's what happened. A big game from Puka Nacua coming. I don't believe he played in the first matchup. If he did, I remember he did a lot, and maybe I'm mixing up another game, but I think you get a big game out of Puka Nacua, and I think you get a big game out of Kieran Williams as well. So give me Puka Nacua anytime as my prop. I like the Rams to win, the Rams to cover plus 1.5. You can go Rams money line, and give me the over this one, over 47.5. Sam?
Rams to win, Rams to cover. I'm taking the under in this game. I like Stafford to throw for more than 240.5 yards, and give me the Kieran Williams anytime touchdown. I think the Rams have the sauce to beat this team. Zolo literally just mimics my exact sentiment. I think that the Rams have all the pieces to do exactly what the Lions did to the Vikings last week.
Uncle Sam?
I'm taking Minnesota and the over. I think they correct what they did last week. They come in, they're going to be focused. They're not going to come out flat. I think Darnold will look a lot better this week. He knows what to expect. And I just don't think the Rams had the home field advantage that Detroit did. So I think Minnesota beats them in a close game. And, of course, you got to give me the Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown.
He's due. He got shut out last week. 3 catches total.
Ain't gonna happen again.
I agree. Bruce?
Give me the Rams and the over.
I'll say this much: if the Vikings pull this one off, that'd be a good coup for them. I think they can make some noise if they can go in and not necessarily going on the road and winning, because playing the Rams, who might not even have a home game, they don't even know where they're playing this game yet. But that's a good team. The Rams are maybe they're not playing great right now, but that's a good beatable team for the Vikings and a good way to get your head back on straight. But I don't.
Yeah, because they don't want to get bounced. They don't want to get
a lot of
bounced.
matchup nightmares,
Yeah.
and the same problems with
I actually think that they're going to be a matchup problem for the Rams.
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's some matchup problems that the Vikings present, and I think Darnold's going to come out on fire in this one.
I do too. I think he's going to kind of want to redeem himself and really be focused. And I think you're going to see a lot better Sam Darnold this week.
So those are the picks. We'll find out. I mean, pending unless somehow unless the Eagles unless the Packers or Commanders pull some stuff off. If both of those teams lose, then the winner of this game, it's a play-in to play the Lions, so we'll know who's playing the Lions on Monday. Or we could know Sunday evening if one of the lower seeds win. But one to keep an eye on for sure. And again, thoughts and prayers go out to all the wildfire victims. It's really scary stuff. But who knows? Maybe that energy is just enough to put the Rams over. They could feel it from their hometown team, from their hometown fans, and we'll see what happens.
I heard Steve Gutenberg was on the road going up to one of the streets over there and telling people to leave their keys in their car so he could move them so they could get the fire trucks in. They couldn't get the fire trucks into where the fires were, and the houses were burning up. And my man, nobody's seen this guy in decades, and they didn't know who he was. They interviewed him and didn't know who he was.
You coming back,
you know
Sam?
who Steve Gutenberg is?
He's an actor.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know who Steve Gutenberg is? Hey, dumbass.
He's
you
an
know
actor.
Who Steve Gutenberg is? No?
You know
Sam?
who Steve Gutenberg is?
You know who he is?
You know who he is?
Yes, I do.
Who's Steve Gutenberg?
What movies was he in?
I have no idea.
You remember a movie called Police Academy? There was like 4 of them
No.
back in the 80s.
No.
3 Men and a Little Lady with Tom Selleck and Ted Danson. You remember that movie there? No?
No.
He was the 3rd guy in there. Nobody remembers him. And that's why they didn't know who he was. He was like, oh, you tell these people to leave their keys in their car. And they were like, who are you? He goes, I'm Steve Gutenberg. He's like, I'm an actor.
Oh,
shit.
Couple things.
Huh?
One, I personally right now think that the Lions are going to be hosting the Rams in 10 days' time or whatever it is, 11 days' time. I think that the Lions will be hosting the Rams for all the hoopla that comes with Stafford coming back to Ford Field. Hopefully it's the Commanders or hopefully it's the Packers. I would
I
favor
want to see
that
him
match.
play the Vikings again.
Or I would love to see him blow the Vikings out one more time. That would
Another
be
matchup
cute.
with the Vikings. Better watch out. Better watch out.
You know, I'm shocked you of all people, because you're so vintaged at this point, because that's the best way I can put it. You
What does
of
that mean?
all people, you've done nothing but prey on their downfall. You're just preying on downfall. That's all.
But
you do.
every time I do that, they do well.
You're a bigger hater than Bruce.
Anyway.
That's regardless
impossible.
of who the Lions.
That's impossible.
Regardless of who.
Bruce has straw for brains.
Regardless of who the Lions play in the next round, and regardless of what is contained inside of Bruce's head, we're going to give away 2 sets of 2 tickets to the first playoff game. That's what we're going to do. We're going to give away some more tickets. So you guys know the drill by now. I'm giving you plenty of advance notice on this, because we're not giving away the tickets for 11 days. We'll give them away the Friday before the game. So it's 11-day notice.
People can't cash them in. So people can't cash them in like all them Vikings fans were doing.
Well, no, because it's just you give this people the most amount of time to enter. And I already have them set to where you can't resell them anyways, because I don't want people to be dicks. So yeah, but we're going to give away some playoff tickets. So this is the official announcement. Something will be on our socials later on for everybody who's watching, and it's going to be a great time.
Real quick, before we sign off, I just have one stat that it boosts my ego and endorses my big upset pick of the weekend. I just want to share it with you guys. Since 2017, Sean Payton's record against bald-headed coaches is 30-12, and Sean McDermott is bald. TikTok, Buffalo. You're on the clock.
That's interesting.
Uncle Sam, would you like to remove your hat now?
No.
Okay. God bless Jimmy Carter.
I'm sorry? No,
God
it's
bless
R.I.P.
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter. R.I.P. Jimmy Carter.
Same thing. Shout out to everybody.
It's kind of hard to say with people that are that old, because so many people want to keep them around, and they've been dead for like 2 or 3 years, and they just keep wheeling them around in that little fucking chair. And I think they're doing it just to collect the money, the checks, and all that stuff. But anyway, moving on.
Does anyone have anything to add?
I'm all set.
Well, if nobody has anything, then thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. We will be back on Tuesday this week because Bruce is going skiing. Make sure to follow our socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast. Listening to us on Spotify.
Hey, is that girl in the chat?
She wasn't in the TikTok chat.
Is she in the TikTok chat? Why don't you send her a message and tell her to meet Bruce on Boyne Mountain?
Follow us on TikTok so you can hit on Bruce there. Follow us on Instagram so you know about our giveaways.
All you eligible young ladies out there that are single, shoot Bruce a shout out, please.
Go ahead. Play the credit.